Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. Right now, recording it from the very snowy and beautiful Oslo. Hope you guys can see it just a little bit. Anyway, it is extremely beautiful and very snowy. Today, there's actually quite a lot of news ongoing, quite a lot of crazy news going on, but the majority of it has to do with crypto regulation, and I wouldn't say that it's in the best of ways. There was one article that said this: US officials could be sabotaging the crypto industry, according to Cardano creator Charles Hoskinson. That's one part. We also have the US Congress apparently introducing a bill, who would be surprised, to block the CBDC rollout. Again, whether or not this is good or bad still is yet to be seen, as I'm dual-sided about CBDCs as a concept. I think they're good, but I think they're going to be mostly used in the wrong manner, and for that reason, I don't think people need it. They need a sort of control-less, by the government that is, currency. Anyway, there's more where that came from. The SEC has to clarify what's permissible for staking, the former CFTC chair says. Is obviously, right now, things are quite difficult, as we're talking about the SEC anyway. Here's some breaking news that came out a couple hours ago. Crypto Body takes action against US SEC Chair Gary Gensler for the crypto crackdown. To be a little bit more specific, the Chamber of Digital Commerce aims to end the US SEC enforcement by regulation by enforcement campaign against crypto, and that's where we're going to start this video. As I think that this is by far the most important news that's come out today, that I put on Twitter like 1,000 times. Hey, when is somebody going to do anything against the SEC? And this is one of the first times where I'm actually seeing some sort of action being taken, or at least being proposed. Now, Crypto Trade Association Chamber of Digital Commerce takes action against the US SEC and Chair Gary Gensler for its regulation by enforcement campaign, threatening the US digital asset market and investors. In order to prevent the SEC's crypto crackdown, in the US Chamber of Digital Commerce filed an amicus brief in the SEC versus Wahi, arguing that the case unfairly labeled several crypto assets as securities. And this is a quote: Chamber of Digital Commerce, with help from Winston and Strawn LLP, filed an amicus brief in the SEC versus Tawi. Why did I say Tawi? Wahi. And this case should be dismissed as it represents an unprecedented expansion of the SEC's campaign of regulation through enforcement. Point being, because that's a long little read, the SEC has overstayed their welcome, and right now there are multiple different parties that are starting to notice it. And again, the Chamber of Digital Commerce has now filed an amicus brief in this United States District Court for the Western District of Washington, seeking to dismiss the SEC versus Wahi case and put an end to the SEC's attempt at backdoor rulemaking. So, let's make one thing clear. This is not the Chamber of Digital Commerce fully stepping in and saying, hey, we're completely done with you, we're doing everything we can, because as far as I've read, it's just them doing a similar little motion or brief as John Deaton and Ross and Layden and all these people in the Ripple case have done, where they just enter as a friend of the court to explain, in this case, some boundaries. However, the president and what kind of happens from here, that's the most important thing to understand, because as far as I can read, and I can read, what we're seeing here is this case represents a stealthy yet dramatic and unprecedented effort to expand the SEC's jurisdiction reach and threatens the healthy and viability of the US marketplace for digital assets. Even though they're taking it one step at a time, they're finally starting to push back the SEC a little bit on their everlasting quest for power. So regardless of how big this move is, it's a move towards the right direction. And so I can only say I'm very happy to read a little bit into this. Now, another article. SEC has to clarify what's permissible for staking, the former CFTC says. It remains unclear. Oh, sorry if you guys can't see it perfectly. Let me put it back into frame. Hopefully this one was also fine. Yeah, the other one was good. Okay. It remains unclear whether the US SEC enforcement action against crypto exchange Kraken represents a broader crackdown on staking, according to Timothy Massad, former CFTC chairman. Yeah, we don't need to read the entire article right here. I could just give you guys the rundown. The quick TLDR is, right now, Kraken kind of got screwed But we don't fully understand what their stance towards staking is because Kraken kind of settled down pretty quickly. Now, Coinbase said they're willing to fight, and I'd like to extrapolate and say the same thing with BUSD. It's like the NYDFS, I think, New York Department of Financial Services, I think, came in and slapped him down, and Paxos says willing to fight, but the whole SEC debacle has not really fully been fought out. But we don't fully understand exactly if their research into that, or with Kraken, their slapdown is a full-on ban on everything relating to it, or their attempt thereof, or as we established earlier, just in making sure the regulations are a little bit more enforced. In the sense that staking, they've said, is not bad. It's making these promises for things that are not backed up. In a sense that you're saying, hey, we're giving you an 11% a year return, and they're not explaining to you why. And I can understand from the SEC side that that's not what you should have. That's the only thing I can agree with them with. It should be explained how you can get a 15% yield a year on Bitcoin. You should explain it because it's not staking that you can do. So it's borrowing / lending out. Now, albeit that it's the same in the banking world, and I, nor you, most likely, have ever received a full draft down, a full explanation of where your bank is lending your money to, because, let's take it a step back here. They say crypto staking is bad for a lot of reasons because mostly these platforms are not explaining to you what they're doing with your money. How are they getting that yield? And that's because it's a high yield. But in the financial space, and theoretically speaking with banks too, they can offer you a higher yield if they wanted to, but for a good part, it is indeed based upon risk. So higher the yield, the higher the risk most of the time. Now, I still believe though that banks don't offer you this explanation of where your money goes in a savings account either. It's just to have a more robust system where it doesn't really matter where it goes, I guess, because they're more properly regulated. But the same principle, in my opinion, still kind of applies, where they're just really not telling you that much. And maybe you can find out, but maybe you could also find out with Kraken if you ask them, right? Is it really that different? Or maybe with banks, it's really in the policy everywhere, or it's because they just want to keep people in the banking system. They don't want you to make your own money. They don't want you to control your own money and make money on your money. But we've talked about that more enough with those facts that you in the US can't buy into pre-IPOs unless you have $1 million or make $200,000 a year. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, US Congressman introduces a bill to block CBDC rollout. This is, as I said, 50-50. Now, Tom Emmer today introduced the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act. That sounds good. To halt efforts of unelected bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. from stripping Americans of their right to financial privacy or privacy. And I can only say I agree with that. The only question is, how much does this block a CBDC in the future? And is that good or is that bad? A CBDC can be seen in good ways and can be seen in bad ways. Let me quickly see this article right there. It looks pretty interesting. This is the BIS chief. We talked about how important of a role the BIS will play in money over the world within the crypto space in the next couple of months. Apparently, he says cryptos don't make for trusted money. Who would have guessed that he would say that, huh? The head of the Bank of International Settlements is not that big a fan of crypto and their ability to replace fiat. That's the most expected answer from somebody like that in the world. And there comes back the point of which is CBDC is probably going to be bad, but it depends on how it's going to be done. And let's move on. U.S. officials could be sabotaging the crypto industry, according to Cardinal Charles Hoskinson. Yeah, I can, again, only fully agree with that. He has a theory saying, according to Powell, regulators allowed the bad actors to grow big since it aligns with their agenda. Quote, I have a theory. Regulators let the bad guys get big and blow up because it serves their agenda. Destroy capital and resources in the crypto ecosystem. Burn people, deter adoption. Give air cover to attack good actors. The bad guys are actually on side. Good guys are the enemy. Honestly, it's starting to feel like this is accurate of this, hypocrisy to a certain degree. Fair notice was given to many of the firms that exploded months or sometimes years prior to the events. And I guess one thing he's trying to say right here is that the regulations and the way in which they're doing things is cracking down on all the good guys and leaving all the bad actors play. Partially because they're just making these good guys move out from the US, making sure the regulations are less set in stone, and also making sure that all these bad guys just don't move into the US so they can still scam people but not face any of the scrutiny of regulating yourself properly because, well, they're not really opened up anyway. Bad guys operate with huge competitive advantages. They suck up users' revenue and venture capital that would otherwise have gone to good guys. bad guys can always be jailed later. In the sense, what this means here is, well, the bad guys just come in, do their business, and ask for permission later. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the good guys ask for permission first, and in this case here, we're noticing it just does not work. Meaning, the bad guys stay around, and the good guys never get their light in the sun, or their time in the sun. All right, little piece on the Ripple lawsuit, just to quickly mention it as well. Dr. Rosalind Layton has filed an amended motion to intervene, so she just changed her motion to intervene a little bit, to petition the court for access to the Hinman speech documents. That's still the same. Now, the only thing that's different is her reasoning. Dr. Layton's original request suggested that the SEC had offered the Hinman speech documents in support of its own summary judgment motion. That's again what she said in her motion to intervene. Now, it's an amended, aka changed motion to intervene, as again, this was not the actual case. So they did not offer the Hinman speech documents in support of their own main summary judgment motion, and so she had to change her complaint a little bit. Sherry here says, first, the court did not declare the documents to be irrelevant, hence why the SEC were ordered to hand over to Ripple. Second, the SEC did not assert the documents to be relevant in their SJ summary judgment motions. They actually argued against the relevancy. So, the Hinman documents will make the SEC more likely to settle with Ripple if they come out, is what a lot of us expect. We don't know because Ripple has seen them, right? And the fact that they're not... Yeah, because I'm thinking, right? If XRP was really mentioned so much in all this, they probably would have let it out to the public already. So I'm guessing for the most part that it's not too much XRP related, but it could be crypto related in the sense that there might be fundamentals for crypto in there that still could be just breaking news and change the way the SEC sees things, but that might not fully be XRP, or at least not enough substance for XRP to all of a sudden win it. Maybe this, however, the settlement might be quicker because it has some leeway or some leverage onto the way they approach crypto, which might have been bad. Anyway, the Wall Street Journal discusses Gary Gensler's latest efforts to exert control over all of crypto. The SEC is investigating whether investor protection laws were violated as stablecoins were issued. That's a good question. But again, that's the discussion that keeps on going around, and all we can say is let's wait for the results of all this to come out, as the rules right now are pretty vague surrounding that. One little piece: Hong Kong to allow retail investors to trade larger crypto such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Very big news, but I thought for the most part we already covered this in Hong Kong. I'm not so sure exactly what is new. Potentially just the official announcement of Hong Kong allowing these parts. But I thought this was like the big news last week, so maybe I missed it somewhere. And I think that's all of the articles that I wanted to cover for right now. All right, guys, so that was it for today's little crypto update here, mostly regulation news. We will talk more about the price and everything later in probably another video somewhere. This is just all the most important news that you needed to hear, and so that's why I gave it to you in this format. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you press that like button, and I'll see you guys hopefully back again in another crypto video later today. That was it. Take care, and make sure you press that like button.